How about you, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Live Recruiting Show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. Today is, Wednesday, May the 1st. Is it May the 1st be with you?
Yeah.
May the 1st be with you.
I think that's the 4th, actually.
It's the 4th.
Mhm.
It's all right.
Yeah, well, we won't be on the 4th. We might be on the 4th. It might be the call-in show. Anyways, today is, for us, Tuesday night, April 30th. Keep that in mind moving forward for any todays, tomorrows, or yesterday. We will try to do our best to keep it as simple as possible, even though I might have complicated it as much as I probably could have. Anyways, fantastic show today. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of great questions from the corner at the Auburn Live on 3 message board. Here to talk to me about it all, answer all your questions, address all your comments, Mr. Allen Head and Mr. Cole Pinkston. How about you, fellas?
How about you?
How about you, big dog? It feels good. You know what I mean? The trio is back.
Yeah.
But I got to give some praise to Cole and Zach in the back.
Fantastic job.
Yeah, phenomenal show on the call-in. Guys really represented well, but it feels like home right now to be here with you two guys. So,
Yeah.
interested to see what the show has tonight.
It's been a long week, but in that week, Auburn has picked up yet another transfer commitment. They are now 4 for 4 with official visits. They've brought in 4 transfers for visits. All 4 have signed with Auburn. That includes 2 interior defensive linemen, a nose guard, a 3-tech, and an edge, and then an experienced wide receiver on offense. We're going to get right into the questions from the corner, but before we do, got to remind everybody, this is a great time to start looking for that new house, man. Get that house on the market. Summer's coming up. The market's going to be hot. Kind of like my wife. Hey, now. If you're looking for some help, for all the help you need in selling your house, finding a new one, moving to Auburn, want to do an investment property, do a flip, she's got everything you need. I promise you she does it all. She is fantastic. Give her a call. Jessica Andrus with the Talent Group, 334-704-4442. A lot of 4s in her number, but she is a 5-star realtor. If you don't believe me, just ask me. I'll tell you. If you tell me I'm wrong, I'll call you a liar. I will. Challenge you to a duel. Give her a call, 334-704-4442, and tell her we sent you. All right, folks, let's get right into questions from the corner because we have such a knowledgeable fan base at Auburn Live on 3. If you're not a member already, you should give it a try. AU1, 2 months for $1, and you'll see what we're talking about. We're covering transfer portal, football recruiting, a lot of visits being set up right now. Big Cat's coming up in July. Official visit's going to start next month. Hell, official visit's going to start in about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Josh Petty's coming in at the end of May. I think actually towards 3/4 mark of the month of May. Either way. All right, let's get to it, man. Questions from the corner. Leading us off tonight is Mr. War Eagle Insider. How did Khalil Jacobs' visit go? We were talking about how knowledgeable our guys are. And this guy starts us off with...
And he's a great poster. In his defense, he's a phenomenal poster. But the visit's not over yet, big dog.
He just got here, big dog. Check back with us Thursday morning on Khalil Jacobs.
That's-
Obviously, this is a
my
big
buddy
visit.
that
though.
I met at A-Day.
Okay, this is a big visit, man. This is a big visit. South Alabama linebacker. Auburn wants him. Missouri wants him. Alabama wants him. Everybody thinks he's going to Alabama because of Kane Womack, the former South Alabama head coach, who is now the defensive coordinator for the Tide. But we were talking before the show, do not count out Auburn. This is something we're going to be tracking very closely. Going to be curious to see what he says after the visit, War Eagle Insider. So keep us on our toes. Appreciate that. We will have that to you as soon as he leaves, if in fact he does want to do an exit interview. All right,
Jeffrey,
question 2,
I've heard it.
BBP.
I've heard it from a separate source now.
Okay.
From yours that, yeah, Auburn's got a shot here.
And I would say, too, that Missouri has a very direct, they've got somebody that knows him as well, too. Corey Batoon, who was the defensive coordinator at South Alabama last year, now the defensive coordinator at Mizzou. So there is an absolute connection with Missouri as well. So this is going to be interesting. I mean, these are 3 SEC teams, all of which were recruiting at a high level. I mean,
Right.
Don't sleep on Eli Drinkowitz and what they've been able to accomplish at Missouri. Obviously, the connection to Alabama, but I'm with you guys. I think Auburn's got a legitimate shot here.
I think if you're Auburn, you want to get him locked up. You want him to cancel that Missouri and Alabama visits, and you want to say, I'm done. I'm going to Auburn. That would be ideal for Auburn. Whether that happens or not, obviously remains to be seen. But we will have that report for War Eagle Insider. I'm going to tag you on it, Big Dog, because I think you've asked about him already.
He's fired up.
Here. He's ready.
He loves some Khalil Jacobs. I don't blame him. That guy's awesome.
Yeah, he's a good-looking kid.
Yeah,
call him a kid. He's probably 22. Bigger than me. BBP. All right, time to hand out report cards. Give the football team a grade for their spring portal efforts. It's a great recruiting question from BBP.
Wow.
I'm just dogging these people. BBP. All right, let's talk about it. Football team report cards for the
Well, he said for spring portal recruiting. He did.
I will take my lashes for that, big dog.
Yeah, BBP. Make sure you go. You know, what I mean, you get off on Jeffrey on this one, man. He just didn't read the whole question.
I didn't take my Adderall. I was just scanning through it. I haven't taken Adderall in years. Probably need to. All right. Give the football team a grade for their spring portal efforts. This is easy for me. It's a grand slam. Is that the wrong sport? Report card. What? Have they missed on anybody?
It's an A right now. I mean, they are 4 for 4 on visits and priority targets. I mean, I think we can all say at this point that everybody that came into Auburn and or that we've landed at this point was a priority A, priority 1 for this coaching staff.
Right. Isaiah Rakes. You wanted a nose tackle. You wanted a 3-tech. You wanted an edge. You wanted a wide receiver. Those were your top 4 priorities. And they knocked it out of the park as far as they're concerned. It wasn't like all 4 of these guys were ranked number 1 at their position in the transfer portal. They were ranked number 1 on Auburn's board.
Correct.
So they went in, got them on campus, locked them up as soon as they left. And I thought beating out A&M, which we woke up on last Wednesday, and it was decision day for Lambert Smith. And everybody thought it was going to be A&M.
Yeah.
And
I was going back through the stuff that I posted about the transfers about 2 weeks ago, Jeffrey. Maybe it was less than that, week and a half. Covered myself pretty good there. I said, if Auburn really wants Keandre Lambert-Smith, they'll get him. I said that in that article, and I was like, hey, good job, buddy. Because it just seemed like he was that kind of guy. The thought process was, could you imagine having a guy that is very talented, a guy who is very reliable on this current roster at receiver? Yeah, I think that's worth the price of whatever the price may be. So I figured they were not going to go down easy on that one, and they did not. If you're looking for a reason to maybe push this grade to an A+, and I'm not going to go that far because
I almost did.
I'm not going to go that far just because that's astronomical, right? A+ is absolutely unreal recruiting. But you got to remember the other side of the portal is keeping good players. Sure. And I think they did that. Or at least the guys that they lost, they have a clear upgrade over those players.
Land Khalil Jacobs and the Cole kid, I may give you an A+. I'm going to be honest.
It's not over yet. That's the crazy thing.
Well, my A+ was thinking, well, they're 4 for 4. They've gotten everybody they've targeted. How could they have done any better? So they've been to this point, they've been perfect, and that's an A+ score. So, and I was thinking, well, why shouldn't it be? And I don't know why. Now, a week from now, when we're doing this again, where's Khalil Jacobs? Where is Javion Cole? And if they're both in the boat, then you've got if they hit 6 for 6, and listen, there's probably going to be another 1 or 2 visit before next week.
Sure. I mean, I think that's fair. When you're targeting a certain position, you obviously are going to target greater than 1 player, right? I mean, you're going to spread your seed and probably target at least 4 to 5 guys if you're trying to land 1. I think Khalil Jacobs is number 1 on their board, though, and it feels as though he's the priority there.
Tell you what, if they get Khalil Jacobs and keep him away from Alabama, A+.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then how much of a statement is that? And I don't think Hugh Freeze is huge into making statements with the transfer portal, in my honest opinion. I think this staff is very cognizant of making statements in recruiting, but it feels like that's more high school related, right? As far as trying to take shots across about other teams, letting them know and announcing their presence as it pertains to recruiting. This one feels more about need to me. And they need this kid. They want this kid. They prioritize this kid. But I do think it sends a shot to Alabama that, hey, it's a different day. It's a different era. And just because you coach that kid doesn't mean we can't absolutely land him.
So I don't know how much y'all paid attention to the call-in show, but Edward called in and had something on this topic. He was talking about how he felt that Auburn would get the people they wanted in the portal. and he and I both kind of talked back and forth on it a little bit. The consensus seemed to be, well, it's because even though they did look for other quarterbacks in the portal, they sort of locked in on Thorne. He doubled down on Thorne publicly and said, I think it was in a press conference. He goes, everybody wants you to jump on the hot quarterback in the portal. That's what they want you to do. He said, but I got one of the most winningest returning quarterbacks in college football coming back. So he doubled down on it, and he probably used that to his advantage in the portal this year, going, I'm going to build around him. Unlike the Atlanta Falcons, who went and got a quarterback, didn't make a lot of sense in the draft. It's a little bit different here. Auburn had something to work around in Freeze's 180.
Complete opposite of what the Falcons did. Absolutely. Good stuff. Let's see. Wardam 23. How about an old 5 for 2 on wide receiver targets?
Man, we haven't done that series in a minute. Okay. I can do that. I
didn't know what he was talking about. Man, I forgot about that. 5 to sign 2.
That's been a long time.
That's when we were first cutting the platform, and we were trying
with Keith.
It was with we actually started it before Keith, and then Keith joined the team after that.
Wow, that was back when we were throwing Raquez McElderry in there.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
McElderry.
That was back when we were doing show notes and we were trying to create talking points.
Yeah, right.
Yes. How are we going to fill this 45 minutes?
No doubt.
All right, let me pull up my offer list on wide receivers. All right, 5 to get 2. We are pretty sure. Yeah. All right. Who wants to go? How about we throw one name out each?
All right, I'll go. I'll start Caleb Cunningham.
Okay. Cole?
Yeah, CJ Wiley. Easy.
Yep.
Travis Smith?
Yes, sir.
Yep. You almost don't even have to go to 5 in this group. You
don't, but let me go to Dallas Wilson, presently committed to Oregon.
Yes. Yeah, man. He would have been mine. He would have been on there.
That's one of those long shot. It's a long shot.
But I was pushing really hard for him.
He's legit.
I would say the 4 guys we just named are the top 4 on the board.
I'd throw Derek Smith in there too. I think they still like Derek Smith. I know Marcus Davis has a great relationship with him, so that's going to keep him up there.
Agreed.
Is he going to be your number 5?
Yeah, he'll be number 5.
Okay.
And then I'll throw you. Go ahead, Cole. I'm sorry.
Well, you're probably going to say who I was thinking. There's 2 who I think are on the outside looking in at the moment.
Yep.
Go ahead. I know who you're thinking.
First alternate would be TK.
It would be TK Norman. Second alternate, Tyler Williams. Those are the 2 that I'm watching. Now, you may have a different alternate on that one, Cole.
I got TK Norman. I was thinking Dalen Upshaw, but that one, Tyler Williams works too.
We're going through. Let me scroll down to athletes. That's good. That's 5 with 3 alternates, and I'm like you, Cole. They may not get to that,
and they'll get 2 out of that group.
I was going to say they have the season on offense, and the wide receivers have the year that we think they're going to have, or the potential to have. I don't think wide receiver recruiting will ever be a problem under Hugh Freeze. I don't think wide receiver recruiting will ever have to settle for those 6, 7, and 8 guys that we just mentioned. The 6, the first alternates. I don't think you get to them. He didn't. I'm sure didn't get to them at Ole Miss.
No, he really didn't. Now, this class may be a little bit different in that you just took in 4 studs, so it's going to be a little harder, I think.
Sure.
But contingent on who your quarterback in this class is, it could become a much more appealing situation than we're even presently thinking. Now, let me ask you guys a question, because I think this may be the bigger question. Because you now have bringing in who you've just brought in for the transfer portal, you've got 3 senior wide receivers on this roster right now, if you don't lose anybody else. Do you try to replace it with 3 guys from the high school, or do you go 2 and then 1 from the portal? How do you guys think they attack this?
I would go 2-1.
I think 2 is the number they end up with in this class for a while.
Fill the rest of the holes with the transfers.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
Good question. I like that. We'll have to work that back into the show more, maybe during the summer when it's a little slower.
I think so too.
All right. BK11AU wants to know, and we talked about this before the show, does Auburn pursue Tony Mitchell, the Alabama defensive back from Thompson, who entered the transfer portal on Tuesday? Even though it's an SEC transfer, I don't think so.
I don't think so right now. I did ask around before we came on the show, and I think given the fact that he would be ineligible this season, I think that probably is going to deter an SEC team from probably pursuing him, and specifically Auburn. When I say that, that was just kind of the general feel from the conversation that I had. But we'll see. Maybe Auburn decides, you know what, the juice is worth the squeeze, and if the kid's willing to sit out, maybe that's something they look into. But I didn't get a feeling that the appetite was there to pursue Tony Mitchell right now as things currently stand.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Hayes Fawcett. He said Tony Mitchell has 3 years of eligibility remaining.
Correct.
Which means he played as a true freshman.
Yeah, he did.
He played as a true freshman after the stuff that he got into.
Yes.
Are you serious?
He was.
I'm almost.
Was he mostly a special teams guy? I think he.
Yeah, he was.
Some garbage time, but
yeah.
Wow. Not surprised though. I'm not surprised. Well, I mean, what do you want us to do? Well, what do you want us to do? Good riddance, big dog. All right, Augustus McCray. Glad I ain't scared to be lazy. How many commits are we likely to add before August, and who would they be? Well, I mean, hell, if I could tell you that, I'll take a gander. Well, you got to think Big Cat's coming up in July.
Yep. I think what we talked about was we thought we'd be somewhere between 16 to 17 commitments. Is this before August? Yeah. I think moving into Big Cat weekend, we thought we'd be around 16, 17 commitments. That was kind of what we thought with who all was going to be potentially making a decision. Because you've got Eric Winters coming up. I think we all think that Anquan Fagans could be making a decision. Alvin's already made his. Juju Lewis is going to make a decision in June. So he would be somebody that would be making a commitment.
There's going to be, I think most of the kids will have a commitment before August. Even that's the week before the season begins.
Correct. And I think the last weekend in July is when Big Cat's going to be. So anything you capture there would obviously be in addition to that.
So let's see. Auburn has 10 commitments, so 6 or 7 more before August. I wouldn't argue against that.
No. And who's the big offensive tackle out of
Jacoby Ward?
Brody Scholl, Jacoby Ward, third Scroggins. Does Zion Grady do something?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think
those 6 or 7 right there.
Yeah, those are your priority targets, in my honest opinion, that are probably closest to doing something. The young man, Dante Core.
Yep.
Cody Core.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a relation there. There probably isn't.
You know, he played wide receiver underneath Freeze at Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah. He was from Auburn High, right?
Sure was.
So, yeah, I would think 6 to 7 more before August, and most of them coming from the guys that we just mentioned.
I would think so.
I think Auburn's the team to beat for everybody, even Zion Grady. I feel like everybody we just mentioned, Auburn's the team to beat.
I agree.
Definitely. And then, they bring TK Norman into camp. What does that do?
Right.
You know what I mean? Do they decide to really press there? You mentioned the wide receiver out of Georgia. I think he's going to make a decision before then.
Oh, how about CJ Wiley?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, CJ Wiley, because if they're taking official visits this early, yeah, you got to think that's coming. This eval season is going to be interesting because their coaches are on the road right now. For those who don't know, they're not really hosting many high school recruits on campus, more so saving that for transfer portal people right now. And then when they don't have a transfer portal person, they're on the road, going to see guys, going to see spring practices, what have you. And they're trying to figure out who they're going to bring in for summer camps and actually really take a look at during summer camps. So that part, I'm telling you, man, that is the best time of year to me. I really, really love that part. You get to see them in action. I get to see them in action. Coaches get to work with them directly. That's when they find out who they really want, if they don't already want them badly.
No, and it's, of course, they're having to be very strategic this spring about who they're going to see. They've trimmed the number of visits down that coaches can take or places they can go on the road. I think it's gone down to 140 for the entire staff, which was, I believe it was at 165 last year, so you're having to consolidate, and it's kind of brought back, to the best of my understanding, when I spoke to somebody that's kind of in this world, it's brought back more of a focus on area recruiting. So you're not necessarily as position centric right now, but Auburn's really getting around. I think we saw one of our coaches on the road today looking at a 2026 quarterback. That'd be Ken Austin, and several other coaches are around. Charles Kelly went down recently to see Alvin Henderson. We did see that along with Coach Nix, and so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see who they see that has their bodies changed some from the January evaluation, or maybe the last time they saw them was in fall. How much they've grown and developed. What do they see? What do they hear from their, from the principal, from the teachers, from the other people involved in those spring visits, as far as what kind of character they have? Because, and you see it right now with everybody that hits the portal the way they do, the evaluation on a kid's character is as big right now as his skill set. That is something that Auburn is very much looking at. And are they the kind of kid that's going to continue to push against adversity? Or if they're not playing in their freshman year, are they going to automatically hit the portal? And that's just something you have to consider as you're starting, your roster management. That's something you 100% have to be focused on.
Oh, MD Hill's got us a long one here. Number one target at each position, committed or uncommitted. Let's say, this is easy. I think so. Juju Lewis.
Yep, at quarterback. Running back, what do you guys think?
Alvin.
Or AK, or if you want, what's their board look like? If I snuck in and saw the board, I think I would see AK Deer at the top. I think I see Usman Chrome at the top. But number one target.
If you factor in gettability, I think it's Alvin.
And I am. I'm going to factor that in just because I think for the staff, gettability is part of making someone number one on your board. I truly like Dallas Wilson would be the number one receiver, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But how possible is that? I don't think it's super possible. So probably somebody different at receiver for that reason, but still in the same tier.
I think tight end. Okay, you talk about gettability. I think Lincoln Cure is number one. Elias Williams is number one.
Yeah.
Gettability. They've got Hollis Davis and they've got Ryan G already committed. They're going to bring in. I saw the Ia kid committed to Arizona State. They're bringing in Kalen Edwards from California for an official visit. There's going to be some tight ends visit, believe it or not, even though Auburn has two. So,
Alan, I'm curious. Have you gotten a chance to look at Caleb Edwards on film? Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Very much so. Very much so, Cole. He would go ahead.
Don't know if y'all missed it. AJ Ia is committed, maybe off the board, committed to Arizona State.
That's what Jeffrey just said. Yeah.
Oh, hey, I can literally say that's what I said.
I didn't take my Adderall.
Keoti Armstrong. Keoti Armstrong's another tight end official visit coming from Texas at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So another guy to keep an eye on. All right, what's the next position? Wide receiver, Dallas Wilson, CJ Wiley, Caleb Cunningham, Travis Smith. I think those are your four top guys.
And I think CJ Wiley may be number one amongst those.
Agreed.
I guess, if they were given free reign to choose who they would want, I'm with Cole. I think it would either be Dallas, CJ, or Caleb Cunningham. Travis Smith probably in there too.
I think maybe Travis is even a notch beneath those, but I think those three. I
think so too.
I think those three have really separated themselves on the board.
Yeah. Let's see. Offensive lineman. I think Brody Scholl's in there.
Yep.
For sure.
Jacoby Ward.
Yep. Josh
Petty.
Andrew Babalola.
Yep.
Sure. Absolutely. Defensive line. Interior. We'll start interior.
A little bit of a mystery there.
Well, they've got so many committed.
Yeah, they've got two committed on the interior defensive line. You've got Caleb Edwards that's coming in for an official visit. He's high on the nose tackle board, or on the nose guard board.
I'd say Antonio Coleman.
Yeah,
still there.
I think so too, man. I mean, I know they've got some other guys. Who's the kid from Florida that they're taking a hard look at?
Jeremiah McLeod.
Yes.
There's others too, man. I don't know. I
Nate
don't have a
Marshall,
good
even
read
though he's
on that
committed.
board.
Yeah, and he's probably going to be a hard pull
Oh.
getting him away from Michigan right now.
Andrew Maddox, Antonio Coleman.
Yeah.
Andrew Maddox.
So there are some options or some candidates for that top spot.
Is it just me, or do you guys think that Vontrell is going to have a surprise on that one? Like, I feel like he's going to stamp a 4-star that somebody's not talking about right now.
Maybe. Tell you what, there's a guy I've been trying to get in touch with who there is a chance, heard a little chatter on this, that he could take an official visit, and that is Myron Charles, 4-star from Port Charlotte, Florida.
Sure.
Don't know that. I can't confirm it yet because I've been trying to get in touch with him, but have heard that that's possible. So he's one I've been tracking a little bit. I forgot about him.
Edge, Zion Grady, Isaiah Gibson.
Third Scroggins.
Linebacker, Tyler Atkinson.
He's 2026, right?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yep.
Who's the? I'll get him and some other guy mixed up. Who is it?
Elijah Melendez.
No, that's not what I'm thinking of. No, let's not go into this again.
Duke Johnson, maybe.
Maybe. I always get him mixed up. Where's Tyler Atkinson from?
Grayson.
Tyler Lockhart is who you're thinking
Mississippi.
of.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Tyler Lockhart's way up there on the board. I would 100% say he's number one.
Jaden Perlotti.
Yeah. And the Melendez kid. I put him in there.
Mm-hmm.
Still think Anthony Crua is in there. Christian Gass is another one.
He is. Where do you think Gass is on the linebacker board, the edge board, or both?
I'm not entirely sure.
He was on the linebacker board at back in the spring, and I don't think he was as high as we might have thought he was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I had him in my top 5 targets, and I don't think that was
that was necessarily the case.
Of course, I don't think they have top 5 targets back then. I mean,
no,
they got like 2 or 3 that they really, really want. And they wanted to talk and see the rest of them. Let's see, linebacker DBs, Anquan Fegans.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, Eric Winters, linebacker.
Eric Winters. He's safety.
DB, whatever.
Yeah, we're calling him a safety now.
Okay. Well, Eric Winters, Anquan Fegans.
The only reason I knew that, he's both, really. But Charles Kellis sort of spearheaded that recruitment as of late. So
Neem Alford.
Oh, yeah. Dante Core.
Yep.
Tay Harris. That's the other guy I was thinking of.
Tay Harris.
Chris Ewald.
Yep. Who's the kid out of Kentucky?
Definitely. Oh, yeah. Martellus Carter.
Martellus Carter.
Yeah. Which Auburn went and saw last week. So, and then, of course, Derek Smith's got to be in here somewhere. We're going to put him with we mentioned him with wide receivers, didn't we?
Yeah,
we did, but he's an athlete. I mean, he could be on either side. And is Bama recruiting him as a wide receiver or a safety? I thought they were recruiting him as a safety.
Yeah,
DB,
that's what I under the impression.
Yep.
So, all right, well, there you go. That would be a good rough draft. Herbert Scroggins is listed as an athlete. Interesting. All right, let's see. All right, Elberg. Latest buzz on Juju and or KJ Lacey. I think the buzz right now, and will be until we know for a fact on what's going on, will be Juju Lewis.
Yes.
Yep. And then the latest there is he has canceled. Georgia is out. It is confirmed that they are no longer getting an official visit from him. It is undecided if Juju Lewis is going to visit somebody else on that first weekend of June when he was slotted to visit Georgia. I think he was with Steve Wiltfong recently providing an interview where it's either him or his dad had basically said either we're going to just chill that weekend, which is what we're leaning towards doing, and then visiting Auburn, Colorado, and USC, or we'll potentially pencil in Alabama, who seems to be that 4th team that's kind of in the mix somewhat for Juju Lewis. But right now it's a 3-team race between Auburn, Colorado, and USC. And if I were be honest, if I were handicapping it, I put this more towards Auburn and USC at this point. But Coach Prime has, recruited relatively well in the transfer portal. He's obviously got his son who's going to be potentially a first-round pick in this draft. So there's some things about Colorado that could be 100% appealing to Juju Lewis. So I'm not going to discount him completely, not by any means.
Is anybody ready to come on up to that 50% plateau with me?
Yes.
Ooh.
Make it 55.
Oh.
All right, let me run down my latest
stepped
buzz.
over me.
Yeah, he did.
Let me run down my latest buzz here. Alan, you were talking about it might be coming down to Auburn or staying with USC.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what I've heard, if that's the case, Auburn has the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Also, based on what I heard, if it's Colorado, Auburn has the edge. And this is, from what I understand, if it's Alabama, you're going head to head with, it's going to be tougher.
Sure.
But here's the thing: I think Auburn is pushing all the chips in here. I was at one time thinking the door was still open for KJ Lacey. I see it slowly closing there, and I really believe that Auburn's all in on Lewis and has a good shot right now. That's right now. My percentage could definitely change because I get a funny feeling about this recruitment, and I really don't know how to explain that. I've had it for a long time, and it's probably just because I can't get any one-on-one time with the guy. It's not his fault, probably. He's got the entourage or whatever that doesn't allow many reporters in. It's totally fine. It doesn't matter. But I can't get a good feel for the guy.
Sure.
I don't know much about his personality. I don't know what the fit might be. So that's keeping me hesitant on things. But based on what I'm hearing, if I go all in with my sources, all in with my intel, that's all pointing towards Auburn.
I will join Jeffrey at 50%.
I'm not in. The water is warm.
I'm not ready to join Cole at 55. I think I still need to hear a little bit more on my end personally. And I have not, I'm going to be honest with you. I heard some positive buzz today, but I haven't probably dove in as much as I need to see, hey, what are Auburn's real chances with Juju Smith, with people outside of Auburn? Because that's the big thing. When you're working a recruitment like this, you need to talk to people that know the full story, not necessarily just the side of it that you're necessarily hearing a large amount of the time. So I will probably try to do a better job of talking to somebody who's got a viewpoint that's maybe outside of Auburn to get a better feel for it.
I like it. And I think Auburn would circle back to KJ maybe if the Juju Lewis does not work out. You said Juju Smith. You throwing me off, Alan.
Did I say Juju Smith?
Yeah.
Juju Lewis. Jesus, man.
I had to write it down over here. I was like, okay.
All right. My bad, big dog.
Juju Smith-Schuster?
Yeah, there you go. That's where I'm at with it.
Feel the bomb. Rank in terms of most important for the staff to land in 2025. Rank it. And most important, whether it be Eric Winters, Brody Scholl, Aquan Fegans, or Zion Grady. Man, I don't know. This is all subjective here at this point. Important to the staff.
The thing is, you just named the number one, like tier one targets at each.
Oh, no doubt. Number one at star.
There's not a wrong answer here.
Yeah, number one at star, number one at safety. I would say he's either 1B or 1A, 1B, 1C at tackle. Like, I don't know how they have Josh Petty, Brody Scholl, and Andrew Babalola like on their board. I feel like they've got them together as a group and just say, hey, I'll take one. But maybe they've got them separated. Cole, do you think they have them tiered there?
I think they look at it as a tier thing for every position. So what I mean by that is you got your top tier.
Yep.
So like, Babalola, Scholl, Petty. Probably Ward. I didn't even put Ward in there. Jacoby
Okay.
Ward. And then you have another tier where you're like, all right, we really like these guys, but those four above them at all costs.
Yeah, we'll take any of those four.
At all costs. Right. So what I'm saying is Eric Winters is in tier one for safety.
Yep.
Brody Scholl's in tier one for offensive line.
Yep.
Egan's is tier one for safety. Zion Grady's tier one for edge.
Agreed on all of that. So if we're saying they're all tier one, let's talk perception. What is the biggest perception move for Auburn of these? Like, if we're ranking them for perception wins, who's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Well, you got 3 in-state kids and a kid from Oklahoma.
Yeah. So I think Eric Winters has got to be one for me.
Eric Winters is one because I look for, if you're talking perception, I look at the one who is the one that stings the most if you don't get them, and it's Winters for me.
I think so too, and I think for that reason alone, I'm going to put Anquan Fagans, getting a kid out of Thompson away from Alabama, even though Alabama's not even in his top group right now. Because I think his top group consists of Auburn, LSU, Georgia, Tennessee, and maybe Miami.
Yeah.
I think is that his top group?
Most of those, yeah.
But to beat those teams and your in-state rival for a kid out of Birmingham, yeah, man, that's a huge perception move.
Man, I'm going to go. We're talking about national perception. I'm going with 5-star offensive tackle Brody Scholl from Oklahoma.
I hear you.
Auburn doesn't go to the Midwest and get 5-star offensive tackles away from Oklahoma and Texas Tech, and they just don't do it.
And the last one they did ended up in the NFL. So,
was that Braden Smith?
Yes, sir, out of Kansas.
And obviously Brody Scholl's projected to Auburn. I think Chaz Simmons, Steve Wiltfong, both have projected him to Auburn. And then I would go Anquan Fagans with my number 2.
I hear you.
He's a top 50 overall player. I think ESPN's top 20. But listen, there's no wrong answer here.
No, there's not.
No, I love your perspective on this, Jeffrey. You've been doing this for a long time. And so the fact that you're talking about going out to Auburn, who up until
more nationally.
Yeah, and up until the Hugh Freeze era, struggled with top-ranked offensive linemen as far as recruiting goes. To go and land a guy that's a 5-star recruit in On3's rankings, that's huge. That is absolutely huge. And I guess we're all saying that Zion Grady may be the last one there, and he's a hell of a football player.
Yeah, and listen, somebody could probably make a case for him being number 1. Especially if I think they said ranking importance of need. There's your edge that you so desperately need.
And you can never have enough pass rushers, right? I mean, that is a premium position. You can always add a pass rusher.
Yes.
But you know what? We're talking about perception. If you score 2 studs from Enterprise, if that's in fact, I think we all agree that those 2 likely end up at the same school. They're certainly considering the same schools: Georgia, Miami, Auburn. I mean, listen, again, no, there's not a wrong answer. 1 through 4, 4 through 1, name them how you want to. Those are all stud, elite, high priority, huge perception wins for Auburn, whichever way you rank them. Good question, though. Great conversation piece. Bruce AU40 wants to know, what's your take on running back recruiting? This is a great one because after Alvin Henderson committed to Penn State, it's kind of like wait to see mode. We'll see how good he's. Do you still think taking 2 backs is a real possibility?
I do.
Okay. 2 high school backs.
I do.
Okay. So where do you go? You're going to wait for Alvin Henderson. No doubt about that.
Right. I think you're going to press probably. I think you're going to try with Usman Kroma. I think that's the play right now of where Auburn is really going to focus their attention. I also think they're going to put some attention on Shakai Mills-Knight. I think that's the other name on the board right now to pay attention to. But there are 2 other guys that we just offered here recently that I think are also going to find themselves in the mix. One out of South Georgia, the other out of Mississippi. And I think the evaluation period is going to be part of that for them. Go ahead.
Todd Robinson.
Out of Valdosta, Georgia.
And the kid from Mississippi.
Let me pull his name for you real quick.
I wrote about.
Kinkle. Trey Kinkle.
Yes, Trey Kinkle. I think those 2 are going to get heavy evals when the staff gets out, or maybe they've already seen them, but to try to get a better feel for where they sit on their board, because I think they're looking for 2 very different backs. I think they're looking for a bigger running back in this class, a bruiser, somebody that's a between the tackles type runner. And then I think they're looking for somebody to add some explosion to the backfield, to bring some diversity to the passing game, and somebody that can be a home run type threat. So they're not looking for 2 very similar backs. I think they're looking for 2 different ones. And Alvin, even though there have potentially been questions about his long speed, I think he probably fits into that second category of more of an explosive back than he does into that banger in between the tackles type. I think the three guys you have on the board that can do that, that's a Kylan Deere, that's Usman Chroma, that's Shakai Mills-Knight. It's those three, in my opinion. And I just don't know what the feasibility is of flipping a Kylan Deere at this point. I don't think it's very high.
No.
Yeah,
But
I think Auburn's better chances with Anthony Rogers to flip him. And listen, I have all but forgotten AK Deere. I don't see that happening.
No, I don't either.
And listen, we talked about this when Alvin Henderson committed to Penn State, but listen, wide receiver recruiting for Hugh Freeze is pretty easy. I mean, it's not easy, but it's a lot easier than recruiting running backs for the reasons we talked about when Alvin Henderson, Penn State. When he says, everybody can name me 5 first-round draft picks at wide receiver, but can anybody name me 1 running back? Hugh Freeze, and you can't. So there's going to have to be running back recruiting. So I can't automatically give Auburn the benefit of the doubt like I can with wide receiver, like I can with tight ends, like I can with quarterbacks.
Which is completely understandable. I mean, that is completely understandable and very logical. So this is a massive season for who you have on your roster, for Damari Alston, for Jarquez Hunter, for
Jeremiah Cobb.
For Jeremiah Cobb. Does somebody crack that 1,000-yard mark out of that backfield? And you're hoping, obviously it's one of your 2 more senior-laden guys in Damari and or Jarquez, so that you're seeing, the fruits of that labor in the NFL draft this year. I mean, if one of those 2 were to crack in 1,000 yards, I think both of them would probably – I mean, Jarquez is already turning pro. Okay, but I think Damari would probably try to leverage his stock at that point, being as high as it possibly has been, to getting into the NFL draft. And that would be something that Alvin would need to see, because then that's somebody you can point to and say, hey, proof of concept, this is a guy we put into the league that we developed. You can come here and do the same thing.
Absolutely. The reason I said it's a wait and see right when we first, that was like, the season is going to dictate how Auburn's running back recruiting goes. I truly believe that come December, if Jarquez Hunter's sitting there at 600 yards and Damari's got 300 or 400, you start looking at plan Bs.
What probably hurt was the fact that Hugh Freeze was actively trying to shorten games a year ago.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt offensive production and numbers, first of all. But you're looking at the offense now and you go, okay, Cam Coleman and Keandre Lambert-Smith are going to need touches. Robert Lewis is out there. He's going to need touches. I mean, I put on the board on Tuesday. What about Brian Battie? That guy's good. He was getting very significant touches against Georgia, against Texas A&M. You just take that away now? My point is, and then you're talking about going 12 personnel as well. How do you do it all?
You can't. And thus you have to find what you do best, and you got to obviously base your game plan around that. I think the running game, though, whereas you probably had more touches last year, I think it's going to be more explosive.
Oh, Nick Marner to the CFL. Number 2 overall? Great day. He must be hurting, man. I wonder if Auburn will put out.
He's Canadian, though, right?
He is. Sure he is.
That's true. He is. Jeffrey, he surprised us when we were doing our hand time at the pro day. Remember that?
Yeah.
He had a pretty good 40. We're like, wow.
Okay. Do your thing, big dog.
Numbers are good.
Maybe he'll be the next Sal Canella.
Yeah.
Sal's balling right now in the UFL? Is that what it is?
Him and AJ McCarron.
Yeah. Didn't he get signed by the Packers at one point? He was with them for a little bit.
I think he about a training camp. That was about it.
Yeah.
He got to unpack for a minute.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Let's see. Jake Galloway wants to know, of the transfers we've gotten so far, who will have the biggest impact on winning for the 2024 season, and who will have the most potential impact for 2025? Are they all 3 1-year guys? All 4 1-year guys?
Of the group we just landed, or are they talking about the whole transfer portal class?
Well, he isn't specific, so he's got to be the entire transfer portal class.
Right. So you've plucked, let's take a look at this, because you've gotten some starters out of the portal. I mean, plug and play starters. So let's go down the list of who we think are starters out of this transfer portal group. And we'll start with, the 2 defensive tackles you just landed, right?
Yes. Let me give you all the transfers so far. Keyron Crawford, Isaiah Rakes, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Philip Bleedy, Antonio Kite, Robert Lewis, Dorian Mausi, Trill Carter, Gage Keys, Rico Walker, Sam Jackson, Jaron Thomas, Percy Lewis.
All right. So of that group, in my opinion, Robert Lewis is a starter at the slot. Percy Lewis is starting at left tackle. Jaron Thompson is starting at safety. Philip Bleedy starting probably at 3 tech. Him or Gage Keys, it's one of the two, right, at this point, I would think.
Absolutely.
Isaiah Rakes is starting at nose tackle. Keandre Lambert-Smith starting at wide receiver. That's a lot of starters you plucked out of the transfer portal.
Is Mausi starting at linebacker? No.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, do you think he beats out Austin Keys? Because I think that's who he's competing against.
Yeah, that's why I was a little reluctant.
See, I don't know. That's because, and Freeze does a good job. I think Cole talked about this of not saying who's ones, who's twos. And I think some of that is to generate competition. And I think another part of it is you don't want to tip your hand to kids as far as maybe who you're favoring logging significant snaps in the season. You don't want people to prematurely jump into the transfer portal because they think they're a 2 or a 3 or what have you. So I think it's two-pronged. I think it's more about creating competition, but I do think messaging is important in today's transfer portal era with how you talk about competition with kids.
So speaking solely on the guys they brought in post-spring, Keyron Crawford, Isaiah Rakes, Philip Bleedy, Keandre Lambert-Smith. As far as who will have the biggest impact on winning, I look at the additions of Crawford, Bleedy, and Rakes as preventing yourself from liability more so than winning. All right, so a good example is like the Waltos Football Performance Center.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to be a reason that somebody commits to you. They walk in, they go, "Oh wow, what a facility! I'm in." It doesn't work exactly like that. What it is a reason why. If you don't have it, it would be a reason why they don't pick you. They would point to it and go, "Well, they didn't have this," whereas a lot of schools don't. You got to have it as like a preliminary thing. Like this is just preliminary. We have to have this to be in the game. That's what I feel about Rakes, Bleedy, Crawford, because that was the situation they were in. You got to get guys just to get back up to the preliminary. Okay, now we're in. We can be in these games. Keandre Lambert-Smith, though.
That's the one I'm thinking of. And because of this, and Jeffrey talked about it, I think we all talked about it at one point or another. The wide receiver room was easily the worst group on Auburn's roster last year. And I am not trying to take shots at these kids. Please, guys, do not. This is not personal for me. This is me evaluating what they put on tape. And they were by far, the least successful group that Auburn had last year. And I think that room has changed. And I think Keandre Lambert-Smith is going to play a big part in the success that you're going to be able to have in the passing game this year.
Yep. All right, let's see. War Eagle Insider's back. Let's see what he's got this time. 2026 quarterback prospects that Auburn is looking at right now. They're looking at some guys for sure. Looking at some guys. We saw Ken Austin in Tampa on Tuesday. Was that a quarterback, I believe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will Griffin, I think was his name.
Yep, that sounds right. Well, Griffin, let me just go through who we've got. Jared Curtis who's coming to Georgia. Dia Bell, who was on campus. Jade O'Neal, Noah Grubbs, Will Griffin, Brody McWhorter from Georgia. Jackson Taylor is a guy from California who visited Auburn in March, I believe, from California.
He did.
Michael Clayton is another kid from Florida who was in Auburn. Right. Those are the guys we know of, War Eagle Insider, as of right now, that Auburn has offered, and I'm sure there'll be some more. Let's see. Question 12. Freezing 10. How many 5-stars do you think will sign? If I put the over at 1.5, I don't know if I'd go over. Hold on. No, Brody will be a 5-star.
I think 2. I'm going with 2 now. Hey, and I got balloons for that, big dog.
I would go over 1.5, and I'll take the over. I think Juju Lewis. I think Brody Schull.
Yeah.
I think And who's to say somebody else doesn't end up a 5-star right now? Who's a high 4-star? Because you got to think. Let me just pull up. I mean, is Anquan Vegans make a 20 spot jump?
Could.
Tell you
What
what,
about one of the wide receivers?
Eric Winters could knock on the door of that. Now, he's typically hybrids don't make it in as 5 stars because they're not taken in the first round of the NFL draft. So that might hold him back. But how about CJ Wiley? Check out where he's ranked right now.
What about Caleb Cunningham if things go sideways with one of the Mississippi schools? You know, I'm going to go over. We talked about this at the very beginning. I just don't know who the 5 stars are going to be in this class. Well, now the picture is becoming a lot more clear there. You know, there's not the same level of ambiguity there was when we started this conversation back in January, thinking about this cycle. I think knowing that Juju is really a potential person that could be in this class changes that dynamic a good bit.
Absolutely. I was just looking at the top 50 guys right now. Auburn is in on, or Daryl Johnson's committed to Alabama. He's going to visit. Isaiah Gibson is committed to SC. He's going to visit. Let's see, AK Deer's in there. Elias Williams is committed to Georgia. I think he's going to visit officially. This is what I'm talking about officially. Dallas Wilson is going to official visit. Josh Petty has already set his official visit. Caleb Cunningham, Andrew Babalola, Juju Lewis, Naeem Alford.
Oh yeah,
so
that's another one.
So there's you half dozen 5 stars that will at least visit Auburn, and then Brody Scholl is in there somewhere.
Josh Petty is a candidate for a 5 star. I forget about him too.
Yeah, I mean they are in on more than I necessarily anticipated, and I think the board is being reshaped somewhat, not by Auburn, but from the recruiting ranking standpoint, right? I mean, that's an ongoing process. There's no way that Charles Power is going to start out the year the same way he's going to finish the year.
Right.
Kids are going to continue to get exposure. They develop, and you know what I mean? It's just, it's a different ballgame.
But, you know, we've gotten that question before. This is not the first time. I think we got it maybe like in January, and we all said, right now, no, but let's wait and see. Because
exactly.
That's how it ended up the year before. Cam Coleman, who would have known he would have skyrocketed like that? There are just guys out there. You can't predict it that early.
No, and I don't think any of us last January would have predicted Perry Thompson to land in Auburn's class, right? I mean, there are just so many different. Amaris Williams wasn't even on the radar.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're just going with what we have right now, and that I think that's we all take more than 1.5 over 1.5. Let's see, born to barn. How big of assets are guys like Kenyatta Watson and Will Redmond to Hugh Freeze? Portal recruiting seems to be more precise and efficient this year. Does Kenyatta and or Will Redmond have anything to do with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
So I think there are 2 very different roles that those 2 individuals play. Whereas Will Redmond's, I mean, he's overseeing the entire part of the recruiting operation right now, but the organization of the board and how you prioritize targets, I believe he fully has command on that. I think from a communication standpoint, that's where Kenyatta Watson comes in. He is the premier recruiter on the off the field staff. And guys, I am interested to hear your thoughts on this. You know, that the evolution of the coaching world where they're trying to pass a new rule that allows for everybody who's on staff to be a coach or to provide on-field instruction, and then for you to be able to dedicate any 10 people on staff as off-the-field recruiters that can go out and visit. Think about this, how that's going to maybe evolve some for Ken Austin, where now he can just coach. He doesn't have to worry about going out and recruiting. And say you can put Kenyatta Watson in his spot, and how much more deadly of a recruiting operation that makes Auburn to be able to put that guy on the road for 140 visits. So I'm going to watch that part of it. And I think that's something the NCAA is supposed to vote on as we move into summertime. But I think that's something to pay attention to as it pertains to off the field recruiting. But no, with just talking transfer portal, yes, both those guys play a big part. And I want to hear y'all's take on it. You work with these guys far more than I do, but that's what I can glean from my seat.
Portal recruiting is a lot of networking behind the scenes, pre-transfer portal entry,
Yes.
It's talking to high school coaches. It's gauging family members and uncles. And is he happy? Is he thinking, let him know, or, we've got a spot. We would like if he were to enter. I mean, that's legal. The only thing you can't do is have direct conversation with the kid. You can have the conversations, and I think that network that Will Redmond has, that network that Kenyatta Watson has, where they can put out feelers and engage people's interest and whether or not they're going to. I think that played off a big. I think you can work indirectly to know that when Kieron Campbell
Crawford,
that's what I said before he even, but he was coming to Auburn. Well, how do you do that? He'd never visited Auburn. He knew if he goes in, Auburn's got a spot. He wants to take him, and he knew before he visited. Isaiah Rakes, the same way. You can't convince me that he didn't know that he had a spot at Auburn before he entered the portal, and it's completely legal.
Yep,
100%. And then I think the prioritization of trying to get the first visit and getting those kids on campus.
Absolutely.
We got burned. I think
Yes.
we were probably a little too passive in our approach for getting kids on campus in that first portal cycle in January. And I feel like you heard Hugh Freeze talk about that. He was a little frustrated about potentially needing to change their tactics somewhat. Yep. And so I think you've seen that. And Auburn from that point moving forward, since that statement was made, I think they've gone on a run. And Cole, you talked about this. They ripped off Percy Lewis, Jaron Thompson, and then the 4 in this spring. And those may be your 6 most important recruits that you landed out of the transfer portal. I mean, arguably your 6 top recruits.
Very, very big. And that's just how it's done. And I think Auburn did a fantastic job and is doing a fantastic job at that. Something that I don't think they were able to do in that first window. I think they were playing catch up, and then they got out in front this window, and you saw it pay off. OD Cone 24. In your opinion, who has the highest ceiling on each side of the football? Well, we'll just go to defense because you know who the offensive guy is. How about Cam Coleman not included? Who's your highest ceiling on offense?
Do you think he means the team or recruits?
Oh,
not sure.
We
can do whatever y'all would rather do.
Let's go recruits. Let's go. This is a recruiting show. Let's go recruits.
As Zach's posted on the team. Recruiting show.
We can do both.
Ceiling? I mean, this is all y'all. I don't know. CJ Wiley, I know Auburn thinks he's freaking.
How about this, Alan? We give high ceiling on offense and defense for current Auburn commits, and then we can do the team as well.
Sounds good. Yeah, let's stick with commits, not targets. So let's go with commits. Highest upside on defense for me, JJ Falk. I think his ceiling is through the roof. I mean,
although Malik Autry's moving up for me, but yes, JJ Falk.
I mean, you look at Malik's frame. There's just not a lot of guys that have that kind of a frame that can move like that. But JJ Falk, because of the position, I know he's being recruited as a linebacker. I think he can play inside linebacker. I think his body is going to take him to being an outside buck, and he's going to be just phenomenal in that role. His twitch, change of direction, it's all there, man. I mean, I fully believe that kid is going to be an all SEC type player before it's all said and done, regardless of where he lands. And I think he's going to land at Auburn.
Yeah. Yep. Offense, it's got to be TJ Dice, Tavares Dice.
Yeah, I love it. I love that kid. Go ahead and talk about him, Cole.
Nah, he's just got he's got a high ceiling, but he's already really good too. I don't think he's like first round ceiling type guy, but he's strong. He's a strong offensive tackle prospect. And because he's able to play offensive tackle, that just makes his ceiling even higher. So he's number one for sure. And on the team, Cam Coleman is the easy, very, very easy answer on offense.
Yep. I'll play devil's advocate here for you. So not Cam Coleman, and make this a more interesting podcast. Let's go Connor Liu. I think he's potentially a first round type player if he continues to develop. I mean, Not many freshmen can step into the SEC and play the way that he did as a freshman. And I think that's unique. And on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to say another freshman from last year, Keldrick Falk. I think he's got a first-round type frame if he can continue to develop, grow his game. Those are two guys. And it's amazing to me, we had that debate on the corner. People are freaking out about the number of first-round picks that we didn't have or second-round picks. Well, we just talked about it. The three guys that we all think have the highest potential, they're all freshmen or redshirt freshmen or sophomores, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that just kind of shows you where recruiting was before Hugh Freeze got here. And that's not me trying to trash Gus or Brian Harsin or what have you. It's just, at some degree, stars do matter, okay? And he's landed some stars that absolutely have transcendent capability to get them to the NFL, in my opinion.
And just a couple more names just to keep it interesting. I'd throw J.C. Hart in there.
Yeah.
It's just as far as ceiling. That doesn't mean they ever reach it, but they got it. They dang sure got it. And he's got the wingspan. He's got the 6'2", 205. He ran a 4.3 at Auburn's camp back in the day. Ceiling's outrageous there. And then I'm gonna stay with my theme I've had on the board here. Too Tall Miller.
Okay.
That guy's got a really high ceiling, and he's getting better and better.
That would be big to see him. You know what I mean? To get into the NFL, that would be a tackle that Auburn put in and developed. So that would be huge.
How do we keep forgetting about Rivaldo Fairweather? And I'm not just talking about in this question, but we forget about him a lot lately, it seems. Is there a higher ceiling than that?
I think it's probably because he wasn't really emphasized in the spring game, and so he's just not necessarily on the forefront of our mind. You think about guys like Cam Coleman that were heavily featured, but that they have certain packages in place for Rivaldo Fairweather, and they plan to fully use him in the middle of the field this year.
Yeah.
So Cliffs Dwellers, 91, the final question of the night. If we land Broderick Scholl, are we done with high school offensive linemen for 2025, or do we add more?
Negative, Ghost Rider.
I think you get Brody Scholl, you get Jacoby Ward, and then you shoot for the moon. You've got 6 then. You shoot for the moon for a 7th and grab a star on your way back down if you missed.
Yep.
I
completely agree. Yeah, I mean, you get Brody Scholl, you get Jacoby Ward. Your 2 targets are your 2 top guys on the board at that point that are remaining in that top tier, and that's obviously
you got Andrew
Babalola and Josh Petty. I mean, those are the 2 that you're going to go after, and if you don't get them, hey, you know what? You've already filled all of your needs, and you also snag something out of the portal if you really need it.
That's right. That's right. Hey, let's get to some how about yous for this week.
Mine's easy. Mine's easy this week.
Okay.
I talked about it at the beginning of the show, but Zach in the back, Cole for holding the fort down while Jeffrey and I were gone. Not that I make a difference any damn way, but the fact that you guys did a phenomenal show, and Jeffrey's saying times 2 here.
Yeah, I just thought I could get something.
And I'm getting some more balloons.
Man, that's bull crap, dude.
I still haven't gotten one yet.
I'm also going to give Jeffrey Lee one because he gave me some stellar sign language earlier. So for those of us that are only listening to the audio version, make sure we talk about that.
We'll see a screenshot of it later. Don't worry.
And no doubt about it.
I think DBP does that.
He 100% does. But
or BM
you two for sure. Yeah, definitely deserve a how about you from me. And I'll have another list for next week. I've got one running, but I wanted to make sure I highlighted you guys this week.
All right. Fair enough. Mr. Cole Pinkston.
Yeah, I got a couple. I think 4 total.
Okay.
Garrett Mashburn.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Oh, long time Mashburn.
He had a good yeah. Long time. That was a good post though, man. He knows I'm just messing with him. Everybody gave him hell for it, but he was a good Hey, you know what my problem? You know what my problem is? I didn't know his tie was too long.
I would have never noticed it. I mean, I know where your tie goes, but I
always notice it when it's too short. You know what I mean? Like you just started your first day at Chase Bank. You
too short
on. You know what I mean?
Too short's worse than too long. Definitely.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
I would have never noticed if he didn't point it out.
Like you're managing the Kmart and it's too short.
For those that are not on the corner, you should be, number one.
Yes.
Number two, Garrett posted he ran into Jamonte Waller and Amaris Williams somewhere in Auburn, I'm guessing, and talked to them and asked them how many sacks they were going to have, whatever. Had a good time with them for a minute and posted a picture with them. It was pretty cool. So Garrett Mashburn, you get one. J Cos 79 gets one for me.
Spell it.
It's JJAY, capital COZ, Cos, and then 79.
Okay.
It's all one word.
Why? J Cos.
J Cos.
Yeah.
Smitty J.
Oh, Smitty.
Good for him. Yeah, make that times 2.
Okay.
Yep. Smitty J. Always brings us a good question on the call-in show. For those who don't know, Anthony from Montgomery. And then I'm going to give one I gave last week. I'm going to give again and give a little more context behind it. Big Dave 55. Right? I gave him one on our last recruiting show. I'm giving it to him again.
Okay.
He's my consultant. Okay.
Your inside source?
No, I wouldn't call him a source. I would call him a consultant.
Okay.
We talk football. Me and him have been buddies since about kindergarten, I think.
Oh.
There you go.
Actually went fishing with him right before the call-in show.
Okay.
Big Dave. Shout out to Big Dave, man. I've been telling him for weeks, hey, man, I'm going to give you how about you. I always forget. So there's 2 in a row for Big Dave. Yeah.
I like it.
Dave. Oh, nickel. All right. I got you, Zach, in the back, and Cole. I got you. How about you, Big Dog? Appreciate y'all for doing that. Y'all are awesome. How about you to Brown 1327? How about you to BBP? Because I had to eat my words earlier in the show. I want to apologize. I haven't listened. That was like the second time in my life I've been wrong. So I make
somehow I bet Jessica disagrees with that one, but that's just me.
She didn't hear me. Oh my goodness. All right, folks. We'll wrap it up there. Speaking of Jessica, if you haven't already, check her out if you need some help selling or buying in Auburn, Opelika, Lee County. Jessica Andrews with the Talents Group, 334-704-4442. Give her a call because she's a 5-star realtor and tell her we sent you. All right, that's going to wrap it up, folks. We will be back Sunday night for the call-in show. If you haven't already, get locked into Auburn Live on 3. Recruiting team, basketball transfer portal recruiting, everything going on, a little bit of everything going on right now. Lock on to Auburn Live on 3. Use the promo code AU1, capital A, capital U1, for 2 months for $1. Come join us, see what all the fun's about. We'll be back Sunday, man. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We truly appreciate you, man. For Alan Head, for Cole, for Zach in the back, who stayed in the back. I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay that left lane. See ya.